All right. So this is On Imagination with the Healing Garden, and we are going to go ahead and dive into this gorgeous thing here of it is highly logical that you do have dichotomy inside of your head, so says my subconscious mind, which I am going to call Spock from now on. Thank you so much, Spock. And now we're going to analyze this because this is how shadow work is done. Now, I have a huge problem with shadow work in general. And the reason why is because it is highly toxic and it is highly dangerous. And if you do not know what you are doing, you end up traumatizing yourself. So the very first thing we need to do before we do any of this is we are going to give you the instructions for how to do shadow work 101. And that's really what we are going to do here. So I have a severe passion and love for Freud. I'm sorry, not Freud. Fuck that shit. Carl Jung. I fucking love Carl Jung. And Carl Jung wrote a book. You can laugh, Lizzie. It's all right. She knows how much I hate Freud. She's like laughing her ass off over here at my Freudian slip. The irony. This is the book. Yeah, she's laughing at the irony that I just had a Freudian slip when I said, I love Freud. You can laugh, Liz. This is the book. This is called The Undiscovered Self by Jung. Okay? This is where all this comes from. We're going to talk about the shadow self. For those of you who don't know, I am a BDSM mistress of 30 plus years. By the time I was 15 years old, I was building my first dungeon. The reason why that is important is because I know my fucking shit when it comes to the shadow self. And when I studied Carl Jung at age 12 to 15, I learned a lot about the shadow self. I learned so much that I said, I'm going to be a BDSM mistress. Because I learned that when you don't acknowledge the shadow self, I know the damage done. So we're going to really walk you through what the shadow self actually is. And we are going to dissect how to have conversations with the shadow self. Now, for reading material, this is your assignment. Read Lord of the Flies. Don't groan. It's a great book. Then you can either read Heart of Darkness. Hey, Siri, who wrote Heart of Darkness? Thank you. By Joseph Conrad. That's the first time she answered when I spoke to her. I'm very happy. Wow. Or you can watch the movie Apocalypse Now. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this movie is not for everyone. If you have sex trauma, don't watch Apocalypse Now. Read Heart of Darkness. Apocalypse Now is a very, very difficult film to watch. I did not read Heart of Darkness. I watched Apocalypse Now, the edited version. So I never watched the version where you see the gang rape, where they rape the playgirls. Like I said, don't watch it if you have sex trauma. Or make sure you watch the edited version. Don't watch the director's cut. And then the other one is watch the movie Instinct. Now, Lord of the Flies was the catalyst. I'm about to show you how fucking stupid your English teachers all were. And this is how. When I read this stuff, I had studied the shadow self with Carl Jung. And when you study the shadow self by Carl Jung, and then you read Lord of the Flies, and then you watch Apocalypse Now, and then you watch the movie Instinct, You go, holy fucking shit, Lord of the Flies had nothing fucking to do with a conch shell or piggy or any of the bullshit that English teachers say. Because English teachers do not study Psychology, The Shadow Self by Carl Jung. What the subject really is on these 4 subjects is BDSM, control, the most dangerous game. What we are really talking about is the 4th level of the subconscious mind. What we are really talking about is sin and ethics versus you. That is really what we are talking about. Now, it is the most beautiful, amazing thing of people. Of all the things, of all the people I have studied, the most beautiful thing about people is we want to be good. Holy fucking shit. This is where I really fucking love people. I cannot explain to you this enough. Every fucking one of us wants to be good. We're craved for it. We're starved for it. Some of us are so dedicated to this concept that we will sooner kill ourselves and or shut down than not be good. The reason why we have mental illness is because we are so dedicated to the concept of being good people that we can't live with ourselves if we're not. There is nothing more beautiful, more extraordinary of the human mind than our dedication to be good. It is truly the most beautiful thing of the human mind. It's something I could look at all day long and just weep from the beauty of it. It's something I will probably really spend a lot of time just diving down into the psyche of the human mind and how dedicated we are to being good people. 2,000 years ago, we lost the ethics. And we have been living without the ethics. I'm going to call them the ethics of nature. And if you do not have the ethics, you can't function. You don't have the ethics and you don't have love. You don't have the ethics and you end up consumed with narcissism. You don't have the ethics and you end up with mental illness. You don't have the ethics and you will be impoverished and live in squalor. We are so dedicated to being good people that even without the ethics, for 2,000 years, we have found a way. And I am just still flabbergasted over the beauty of how dedicated we are to try, even when the ethics were taken from us 2,000 years ago. It's mind-blowing. I look at it going, how the fuck are we still alive? Self-preservation, self-love. That is how much we love. It is absolutely the most beautiful thing in the world. Lord of the Flies is what that is about. Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now, and the movie Instinct. This is what it is about. That is what that is about. The shadow self is the part of us that is our instinct. It is the unknown self. That is what the shadow self is. Now, our biggest fear is fear of the unknown. And that is not true. That is a partial true. I'm going to finish the sentence. Our true fear is fear of the unknown self. The real fear in this is the question, who am I if? Let me translate this for you. The real question is, am I an unethical, bad person under this situation? This is all that The Walking Dead is about. It is asking the question, am I a bad person under these circumstances. Because it is asking, and here's my daughter to listen because she loves Walking Dead. Am I an unethical or a bad person under these circumstances? And when you get into the show Walking Dead, this is the only question that's being asked. Dale was fucking phenomenal at this. Dale represented the ethical ideal. That's who Dale was. And the scene where they are getting ready to kill the man who's done nothing wrong, but they're afraid, when they're all voting on whether or not they should kill this innocent man. And Dale is standing there going, is this who we have become? We can't afford ethics. Without the ethics, we are nothing. You are talking about the death of humanity. Welcome to Lord of the Flies. This is really what the book is exploring. These children are abandoned on an island, and the first thing they say is, we require the ethics to be good people. How do we do it? And everyone starts looking around going, I got nothing. I got a conch shell. All right, rules. We need rules. And they try. They try. Apocalypse Now, you step into that world. And there is someone who is so deeply abandoned ethics, they think, that he has become a tyrannical lord who's gone AWOL. So they send Kirk Douglas into the jungle to go kill him. And you see the descent into the jungle, which is metaphor for the loss of humanity and the loss of the ethics. So that by the time Kirk Douglas finds, Marlon Brando, by the time Kirk Douglas finds Marlon Brando, he too has descended into the land of the unethics, his humanity stripped away. And now it's Marlon Brando versus Kirk Douglas. Did you have any problems finding the place? And they stand off in pure logical debate of the ethic. Where is your humanity? And then you step into the world of the movie The Instinct. Anthony Hopkins, Cuba Gooding Jr., where you see the other side of instinct. You think instinct is the land of the unethics? What I see is instinct as the land of the ethics. What is instinct? Is it love or is it fear? What is instinct? Is it good or is it bad? What is our instinct? That's what the movie Instinct is asking. Who are we? And we are so desperate to be good, but we don't know how. This is philosophy, the study of humanity. The shadow self is the part of us that we don't know. And we are so terrified of the answer that we don't even check. We don't even try. We stand and we live back against the wall, terrified of the test, because what if we are bad? Then what? This is humanity. The most righteous people in the world has given us religions that have conducted genocide, and they're supposed to be masters. Who are we, if not good? I will say again, our desire to be good is the most beautiful thing about human beings. We are desperate for it. We are screaming every day, just show me how to be a good person. And it is so deeply ingrained into us that we don't dare to live until we know who we are. And there is your answer. That is who we are. We are so dedicated to being good that we won't move until we know we are good people. That is who we are. We just don't know how. We did once. We did. We knew the answers so well that they were taught by the greatest philosophers in the world. They are the 12 ethics. That is exactly what they are. The 12 ethics are the 12 steps to you becoming a good person. They are courage, self-authority, self-regulation, personal law, self-order, and boundaries, accountability, equal footing, reception, transmission, human connection, emotional fluidity, logic, and non-judgment. When you integrate these in groups, you get trust, justice, empathy, true empathy, which is compassionate foresight, and humbled submission. And when you integrate those 4 groupings, you get self-love. Self-love encompasses you and nurtures your self-preservation. And then you see how everyone is connected, and the self-preservation expands out to include others within your own self-preservation. This is ethical living. And when you follow these 12 ethics plus the 4 groups plus the 1, what you end up with is the most beautiful state of mind that literally drops you at the point of comprehension and true love, where you then discover loyalty, where you discover enjoyment and the savory of joy, where you discover community. We are good people. These are the steps. We just don't know. So when you sit down with a shadow self, what you are really doing is having a conversation between you and your deepest, darkest desires. And when you partner those desires and the shadow self with the ethics literally are the guide rails that show you how to explore to your heart's content the shadow self ethically. It is what I call ethical debauchery. Ethical debauchery opens the door for you to indulge safely and ethically into the shadow self without ever harming you or others. Now you remove ethics from debauchery, and what you have, you remove the ethics from anything, and what you have is possession. What you have is pure, vile possession, which is exactly what you witness in The Lord of the Flies and in The Lord of the Rings. Sauron represents the unethic. Frodo represented the ethic, which is what you see in Lord of the Flies. Ralph represented the ethic. You know, I don't remember the characters. I do not remember. Remember his name. I know Simon. I know Piggy. No, Ralph was the asshole. Ralph was the asshole. So every one of those books absolutely is an ethic versus the unethic, the possession versus love, the fear versus love. And it is the question of whether or not we are diving ourselves into which side of the spectrum. It's the pursuit of the question, the answer to the question, are we good people? Because we are so dedicated to the cause. And here is the most amazing thing about us. We are so terrified of being good that we've spent all of this time and energy studying this topic to figure it out because we're terrified the answer is you're bad people. We're terrified of that concept. We're terrified of it. And this is the most beautiful part of all of this of all. If you were bad people, you wouldn't care. If you were bad people, we wouldn't think about it. The fact that we're thinking about it, the fact that we're shutting down unless we know, there's the proof. The question is not, are we bad people? It's the question of how do you be a good person? That's the question. How do you be a good person? The 12 ethics. The 12 ethics. Where did the 12 ethics come from? Oh, this is fucking gorgeous. Are you ready for this? It's physics, which is the natural science. I can spell. They are already ingrained into us at birth. And if we follow the ancient Greek educational system, we're fine and we naturally go through the process and the stages. Never-ending story introduces and shows the steps through the 12 ethics and is also reflecting on this question. How do you know you are a good person? Once you know you are a good person and how, suddenly your fear of the unknown and the fear of the self goes away because you know that so long as you follow the 12 ethics and you don't break those codes, you can do pretty much whatever the fuck you want. And you can. Now that is happiness and freedom, which are both ethics that are unlocked at the 12th stage. 3 times over. You have to go through it 3 times to get to that stage. I cannot express to you the amount of freedom and liberty when you have these 12 ethics and you just make sure you never violate them. When you live according to these 12 ethics, you can literally do whatever the hell you want. Your identity has full freedom. But we are so terrified to step away from this that we hoard this information. We lock down identity and make sure she doesn't move because God forbid we're bad people. You're not bad people. The fact that you're even thinking about it. I've studied bad people and it never even enters their mind. A bad person, and we're going to go over this because this is really what people need. This is the qualities of bad people. They don't think about ethics. They only think about the challenge because they are bored. They have no fear because they have no love. Fear. The core fear is a core fear is a loss of humanity, obtained by ethical choice, freedom, and self-love. That is the core fear, which manifests itself into fear of the unknown self, am I a bad person if I fail this? Which is the manifestation of fear of the unknown self, which then becomes fear of the unknown, which then gets shortened to fear. We really need to stop abbreviating words and phrases because then we forget what the phrases mean. Speak the entire sentence always. The core fear is a loss of humanity obtained by ethical choice, freedom, and self-love. Fear of the unknown self. Am I a bad person if I fail this? Which became fear of the unknown self, which became fear of the unknown, which became fear. Until now, we don't even know what fear means. And we're all wandering around going, I don't know what I'm afraid of. I don't know what I'm afraid. You're afraid of the loss of your own humanity. That's what you're afraid of. That's what everybody is afraid of. This is why I have no fear. It's because when you live according to the 12 ethics, you don't have fear. Because you know you got your humanity and you're good. Because you got your ethics. Because all the fear is a loss of humanity. You want to live without fear? Be ethical. You're going to ask the question, how do I do that? 12 ethics. They were so renowned once upon a time that Plato actually embedded them step by step into his actual curriculum, which is what the foundation of all of ancient Greek educational system was. The 12 ethics. That fucking gorgeous, beautiful man. Such a genius. His entire curriculum of La Academia was embedded with the 12 steps of the 12 ethics. So if you just do his curriculum, you've learned it. Absolutely beautiful. So, shadow work. Shadow work, when you are ready to sit down and actually dig it out, what you are really doing is you are having a conversation with yourself about your deepest, darkest desires and how to obtain those ethically. And this is what BDSM actually explores. It gives you a free, safe space to explore your debauchery ethically. That's it. Because if you do not, It's called indulge A plus indulge B plus integrate A and B. We're going to teach you a little bit of this stuff right now. You need this for this. Okay, so these are the 3 stages of learning. Stage 1, well, let me go ahead and finish out the formula, and then I'm going to translate this for you so you can understand how all of this connects. So what this is the learning formula. This is how we learn everything. We indulge on A, we indulge on B, and then we integrate A and B. And then we avoid C, we indulge on C, we indulge on D, we integrate A and B and C and D. We indulge on E, we indulge on F, we integrate F and E with A, B, C, and D. The entire formula is written out on my website. It's really cool. Now, that is the learning formula. Stage 1 is indulge in A. Stage 2 is indulge in B. Now, and then stage 3 is integrate. Now, this is where it gets to be a problem. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is Mother Nature's natural formula of how we learn. This is what's really going on in our society. So we're going to do this Mother Nature's way. And then there is the Holy Roman Empire's way with John Locke, and let's just call it modern society. John Locke and Thomas Hobbes. So this is what's going on. The very first time we go through this, what we are actually indulging on is what we need. So A equals what we need, and B equals what we want. And stage 3 is the ethic, self-regulation. Are we all paying attention? This is exactly like a swinging pendulum, where you're going from 1 to 2, and then you integrate. Back and forth. Back and forth. If you, and this is your only option, either you were forced to indulge in need, you are forced to abandon need, you are forced to indulge in want, or you are forced to abandon want. Which one is it? Which one was yours? This is trauma. This is all the trauma right here. This is it. This is trauma. 100% of all trauma is right here. There's nothing else. Everyone else is lying to you. This is it. Either you were forced to indulge in something you needed that you didn't need. See, and that's just it. It's not what you need. Forced to indulge in others' need. You were forced to abandon your need. There, that's it. Forced to indulge in another person's needs, forced to abandon your need, forced to indulge in others' want, forced to abandon your want. We're going to do this in a different way. The first stage is the first ethical perspective. And the second is the second ethical perspective. And the third, self-regulation, is the third ethical perspective. And that's all you got. That is it. If you were forced to indulge in someone else's need, then your trauma, you were traumatized. Oh, I love logic. If then clauses are the best. If you were traumatized by forced or abandoned need, then you were traumatized in the first ethic. If you were traumatized by forced or abandoned need, want, then you were traumatized in the second ethic. If you were traumatized by forced or abandoned variety, then you were traumatized in the third ethic. Are you ready for this? In the first ethic, you would have developed codependency, addiction, depression. In the second ethic, you would have developed borderline personality disorder, depression, and that addiction would have continued. In the third ethic, you would have developed narcissism, depression. If you were traumatized at all, you're looking at PTSD. Every single mental illness comes from these three ethics. You lack one of those, you have mental illness. In order to restore mental illness, you need to go back to the first ethics, regain control, learn self-regulation, and learn how to indulge in what you need and what you want, and then self-regulate it. The first ethics do that for you. If you just follow the first ethics, it does all of it for you. If you need to deconstruct trauma, you just do the 6 ethics backwards. When you are traumatized, the first 6 ethics are violated. By deconstructing the 6 ethics and doing them in reverse, you are deconstructing the trauma process so that your logic can understand it, so you can set it, reset yourself to the first ethic, which is courage, so that you can try again. There's the cure to mental illness. That's it. It's that simple, which are also taught in Plato's curriculum. It is that simple. This is all about your relationship with your humanity. And other people who don't understand their own humanity have compromised your consent through the power dynamics, which is the 7th, 8th, and 9th ethic. So once you understand how all of this just absolutely adjusts and shapes the human mind, how it affects each and every one of this, it's literally the stepping stones to every single problem that you can possibly imagine over and over again. Once you learn these 12 ethics, you will see it everywhere. And suddenly every book you read, every television show you read will become a moral lesson on how to overcome this ethic when someone violates this particular ethic. It's extraordinary. Suddenly you become so embedded with the ethics that you have examples of them being violated all over the place. Oh, they're violating the 4th ethic. Oh, they're violating the 5th ethic. Oh, they're violating the 1st ethic. And then you start learning, oh, that's how you shouldn't do it. This is why you shouldn't do it. Oh, and there's the consequences of all of the crap that happens when you violate those ethics. When you do shadow work, you are taking all of your attention and you are focusing your scope on red herrings. And as a result, you are re-traumatizing your subconscious mind to relive these moments in story in your mind. It's highly toxic. Your subconscious mind then computes that trauma as danger, relearns and reinforces self-preservation and creates a worsened experience for your mental health. What you need to do is deconstruct the logic of it with the 6 ethics and apply problem-solving skills to regain your control, which is exactly what the 4th ethic is all about. So the 6 ethics backwards are this. The 6th one is equal footing. It is acknowledging that your equal footing has been compromised. The next ethic is the accountability. What did you do to put yourself in your shitty situation? It happened when you were a child. What are you doing now to get yourself out of your shitty situation? 4th ethic, self-control, self-law. What laws and what boundaries do you need to make sure it doesn't happen again? When you do this, you are taking the power back from the abuser, which they never took to begin with because you were the one who put yourself in that situation to begin with. If you are a child, what are you doing now to make sure it doesn't happen again? There is one very simple if-then clause. If it happened to you when you were a child, you were a child. You weren't responsible. You were a child. Back to the 6th ethic. They compromised your equal footing because they were at the advantage and they preyed upon your disadvantage to compromise and violate your consent. But you're not a child anymore. So what are you doing to make sure it doesn't happen again? 4th ethic. Create the personal law and the personal boundary required for you to follow to keep you safe. You're steering your ship. You're steering it right into icebergs and rocks, or you are steering it into safe open seas, but you're captaining your ship. And the 4th ethic is all about making sure you have the right boundaries and the right laws for you, not for others, for you. You do not get to hit an iceberg and then blame the iceberg because you steered into its vicinity. 4th ethic, boundaries. It's all about denying access. You are in charge of where you put yourself. Deny access. 3rd ethic, self-regulation. It's a return to the self to make sure you are regulating your needs with your wants. What do you need? What do you want? Pay attention to that. 2nd ethic, self-authority. Make the choice. Do the decision to get yourself what you need or want. And this is the most beautiful part. When you do self-authority, you take the power. You experience your own self-control to prove to yourself, proof of concept, that you are in charge of you, which stops the trauma, which absolutely puts an end to the abuse. 1st ethic, get yourself what you need. Take some time, isolate yourself, get yourself what you need. 1st ethic, courage. Make sure you have the courage to do it again and try again. 2nd ethic, after you have the courage to do it again, use self-authority to navigate yourself safely through the waters and self-regulate your wants with your needs. And use your boundaries to make sure that you are safely putting yourself in the right situation. And if you don't, be accountable. Make sure you are taking responsibility for where you steer your ship and ensure equal footing with everybody, because that ensures that everybody remains unharmed by you. Welcome to the ethics. The more you do this, the more you empower yourself with justice, with trust, communication, connection. It's the way that you can ensure that you retain your humanity while you get what you want, no matter how debaucherous it is. Welcome to the Healing Garden. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.